Right, or should I use the microphone? I've been going back and forth and deciding what I should do. Can everyone hear me in the back? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So does everyone have a handout? I'm going to be going off of this handout, and it's going to be pretty helpful for you to be looking over it as I'm talking. Does everyone have the handout on this side? Okay, perfect. So rather than, I guess, go over the law of personal injury, what I really want to spend my 10 to 15 minutes with you talking about is helping you develop a game plan for if you're ever in the situation where you get hurt and it's potentially someone else's fault. It's not really a situation that we plan for. Whenever we get hurt, it comes very suddenly. And if you haven't planned ahead of time, then when you're hurting, when you're pumped full of adrenaline, when you're not thinking clearly, you're not going to be in the right frame of mind to do everything that you ideally want to do to really help you, give you the best chance to recover, not just for any of your medical expenses, but also any of your emotional damages, any disfigurement. We're talking about an ideal situation, what you're able to do. All right? Now, I'm going to be talking about the ideal. If you're ever finding yourself in a situation where you're hurt, not everything that I talk about might apply. Above all, you want to prioritize your health. If you're hurt, if you're really badly hurt, you want to get to a hospital. Some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, you might have to cut out, just because you want to prioritize your health. All right? Another thing, prior to going into a scenario where you're hurt, one of the most common ways that people get hurt are car accidents. Know what you're insured for. Look over your insurance coverage. Know if you've got coverage for underinsured motorists. Know if you've got coverage for uninsured motorists. In Texas, we have a minimum liability limit. I would highly urge you to spend a little bit more and get more coverage than what our legal minimum is. So let's say that you get in an injury, and you're not even sure if it's someone else's fault, or maybe you are sure that it's someone else's fault. The main thing you want to do, the best thing you can do, is to document everything. So pretty much everyone has a smartphone these days. You've got the ability to take lots of pictures. You've got the ability to take video. If it's a car accident, you want to take video, or you want to take pictures of your car. You want to take pictures of the other person's car. If you're hurt, if there are visible injuries, you want to take pictures of yourself. If it's a car accident, you want to exchange information with the other driver, especially their insurance information. If there's any witnesses, whether it's a car accident or not, if you slipped and fell in a Walmart and someone saw it, you want to take down that witness's name, their phone number. If there's multiple witnesses, you want to get everybody's information. You want to have that written down, because if you don't get it then, there's a good chance it's going to disappear and you're never going to be able to find those people again. A really good practice is, as soon as it's practically possible, is to go home and write what happened. Think who, what, where, when, why. You want to know where you were going that day, what you were on the way to doing, what time was it, how were the weather conditions, what was the name of the person involved in the accident if there was another person involved. If it was a slip and fall, what exactly happened? Was it water that caused you to slip? Was it tripping over something? Details are very important here. It's a good practice to write that down to the best of your ability, as detailed as possible, and then email that to yourself. All right, and then it's saved forever. It's got a timestamp, and you don't have to worry about losing it, because you can just get on your email and access it whenever you want. For certain injuries like workplace injuries or car accidents, you might be able to file a police report. If you're in a car accident, always get a police report. If it's a workplace injury, you can go to HR, request for an incident report. You want to have this documented. So, thinking big picture, if you're ever in a situation where you're trying to gain compensation or get repaid for the damages that you suffered at the hands of someone else, on the one hand, you're going to be telling a story, and then the documents are going to be telling a story. And if you hire an attorney, our job is to tell your story. And we want to make sure that what you're saying and what the documents are saying are together telling the same story. We don't want a situation where on the one hand you're saying how badly you were hurt and how much pain you went through, and then it shows, hey, his doctor recommended that he go get physical therapy, and he put it off for 6 months. We want together the documents and what you're saying to be telling the same story, and that gives you the best chance to recover. After you get an opportunity to document everything, seek medical attention. Even if you feel like you don't need it. We go through a lot of fender benders, a lot of getting rear-ended, where we think, okay, we're okay, I feel okay. Go see a doctor. Even if you feel okay, go see a doctor. And not only go see a doctor, follow the doctor's advice. The doctor tells you that, hey, take this medicine, take the medicine. If the doctor tells you to go see a specialist, don't delay in seeing the specialist. Go see that specialist. Do everything you can to make sure your condition doesn't get worse. Finally, if you're hurt and you think someone else might be responsible, even if you're not sure someone else might be responsible, consult an attorney. There's lots of personal injury attorneys in town, and a lot of them are good. Most personal injury attorneys will do free consultations. They'll let you know if you have legal options. And I guess the biggest thing to look for when you're trying to choose an attorney is someone that you feel comfortable with and someone that you feel like is giving you good customer service. Like I said, a lot of good personal injury attorneys in town. Not everyone's going to give you good customer service. Find someone who's treating you well, who you feel comfortable with, and have them help you. So that's all I have for the presentation. I'm hoping that this is something that will at least give you some things to start thinking about if you're ever in the situation where you suffer an injury. You've got at least an idea of what you need to be doing to help yourself. And inshallah, nobody ever needs this information, but if you're in the situation, you've got it. So at this time, I'll take a little bit of a Q&A. If there's more detailed questions that you have, I'm going to stick around after the presentation. I want to have more general questions that might apply to everybody. So yeah, at this time, if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Usually during the car accidents, most of the time we find that the other person, hitting person, is uninsured. What would be the position in this scenario?
So that's where what I mentioned earlier, there's insurance coverage from your own insurance, where you have underinsured motorist protection and uninsured motorist protection, where if the other person doesn't have insurance, that will kick in to help you with your injuries. And that's why I think it's a really good idea to have it, because unfortunately, something that is, I just got really loud all of a sudden. So something that's really common is not being insured or hit and runs. And so it's really unfortunate that it's as common as it is, but that's why you need to take steps now before you're in that situation to protect yourself. So having underinsured motorist protection, having uninsured motorist protection, those policies will kick in if you're ever in the situation where you get hit and you get hurt by someone who either doesn't have insurance or doesn't have enough insurance, or someone who hits you and runs.
But both of the person don't have insurance then, as a liability insurance is mandatory for everybody. I don't have insurance, and other person don't have. And what would be the situation in that scenario? Because I'm claiming the liability insurance for
So you're asking if you yourself are driving without insurance and the person who hits you also does not have insurance. Well, that's a really tough situation, and I, inshallah, hope that nobody ever finds themselves in this situation. Do not drive if you do not have insurance. But if you are in this situation, you can file a police report. You can attempt through the legal system to try to get something. You won't have much of a chance. Just the unfortunate truth is you're in a really bad spot. And do everything you can now before you find yourself in that situation to make sure that, inshallah, you're never in that spot.
Thank you.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
One is, I've been told various times that if it's a very light fender bender, no real injuries to person or property, that the police will not even come out and do a report. And second question is, if someone has like the cheapest insurance, which is like liability only insurance, that for that insurance to kick in, you have to have a police report done for an accident if you're going to use that insurance.
Okay, so let's start with the first question, which was about police reports and for light fender benders, police not showing up. So ideally you want a police report. It is true that for very minor fender benders, I wouldn't say that the police won't show up, but they'll take so long that it might not be worth you staying around. So I myself have been in a minor fender bender where the police told me it was going to take 2 hours. And that was a situation where I just had to make a judgment call and say, okay, I've documented as much of this accident as I could. I've taken all the pictures. I've gotten the insurance information of the other driver. I've gotten his name, his contact information. I've done as much as I can to document this. It's not worth me sticking around 2.5, 3 hours to have a police report. That's going to be a judgment call, and it's very situational. I can't tell you without being in your shoes in that situation what to do. And that's something where if you find yourself in that situation, you're also going to have to make a judgment call. And then the second question was, I'm sorry,
Liability insurance.
liability for minor. So the state minimum policy is what's called a 30-60 policy. And it means that if someone is hurt and it's the insurance fault, so let's say a driver who hits you has a 30-60 policy, the insurance will pay up to the amount of $30,000 for your injuries per person who was hurt. So if someone hits me and I've got 3 people in my car all claiming very high amounts of damages, there's only a total pot of $60,000 there at the end of the tunnel. Does that make sense? Even without a police report, so insurance companies, when they're dealing with individuals who are not represented by attorneys, they will tend to give you the runaround. And that's why if you are hurt, I always recommend hiring an attorney. For other stuff where it's property damage, I wouldn't necessarily recommend always hiring an attorney. That one's very situational, but if you are hurt, that is an area where an attorney will always add value to your case. Just because insurance companies will deal with individuals in a different way that they'll deal with attorneys. So if you are represented by an attorney, it will be much easier to get money out of a minimum policy than it will be if you aren't represented. Whereas an insurance company will just really make your life difficult in order to get what you deserve.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Usually, a lot of handymen are working around. And if I call some handyman to repair something, say the electrical fault, and maybe he is injured somewhere, and he may not have his insurance. So how about my home insurance will cover that? And that's it. Or who will cover that?
So the question was, if you've got someone, a worker coming to your house who's doing work on your home, who potentially gets injured while in your home, and the worker himself does not have his own insurance, would my home insurance cover that? And the answer is potentially. You would have to look at your homeowner's policy itself. Usually things like that are covered, but it's possible, depending on the insurance policy itself that you have, it might not provide coverage for that exact situation. There's a joke within the lawyer community. Our favorite answer is it depends, and that's just it depends. It really just depends on what the facts are, what your homeowner's insurance policy covers.
So while buying the insurance policy, we have to consider that point. That's why I asked.
Absolutely. Especially if you're finding yourself in that situation often, where you're constantly calling contractors to come do work on your house, that's something that you really want to make sure that's covered in your homeowner's insurance policy, or potentially there's other policies that can cover that as well. So if you've got a max auto insurance policy, most insurance agencies will offer you what's called an umbrella policy, which then provides additional coverage, not just for auto-related incidents, but for just a lot of different situations that we just find ourselves in life where we might be responsible for someone else's injuries.
So the bottom line is that home insurance is not necessarily covered this time.
Correct. It really just depends on your policy.
We're going to do two more questions. Okay, three more questions, and then we're going to move to the next speaker.
Okay, so if you're involved in an accident and it's someone else's fault, and their insurance underpay you for the damage, what do you do?
So the question was, if you're involved in an accident and the insurance underpaid you for your claim, what do you do? If their insurance underpaid you for the claim. So this is another situation where it depends. So for examples of different things that did you want to explain the situation further? Was it sending pictures of your injuries or sending pictures of the car, and was it just property damage, or were you claiming medical damage as well, or was property damage only? Generally, in these types of situations, when the insurance sends you money, they'll have you sign a release. I'm assuming that you probably signed a release, in which case, when an insurance company pays, they'll basically make you sign something that says, okay, we're done paying, we're off the hook, and once you sign that, it's basically game over. Once you've signed and released your claim, that's it. That's the money that you have. In property damage, especially depending on how much property damage is at issue, it'll really come down to you making a decision on whether it's worth trying to pursue either hiring an attorney or hiring an appraiser to appraise the damage to try to prove that you're owed more, which in the end costs you money. So you've really got to run the numbers to see if it's worth trying to get more money out of the situation. And in this example, I'm talking about before you've signed anything releasing the insurance company from paying you. And you just got to figure out what's going to get you more money and how much is your time worth. Is it worth you spending 20 hours to get an extra $500? I don't know. That's a decision you'd have to make. Okay, so just over the phone, there might be something there. I couldn't tell you without looking at all the documentation or looking at your exact situation.
So, Amir's going to be here at the end of the session. Feel free to reach out to him and continue your questions. I think you have a question, right?
What in the case if it is hit and run?
So, what is a hit and run? So, if the person hit you and they did not stop to provide you their insurance information, that's going to be a hit and run. And if you are in a hit and run, you call the police every single time. You call the police. If it takes you 3-4 hours waiting there for a police officer to show up to write a report, that's what you're going to do. You're going to sit there, you're going to wait, you're going to get a report made. Because especially if you have your own underinsured or uninsured policy within your own insurance, that's a situation where they're going to want a police report to prove that, hey, I was involved in a hit and run and I'm not trying to defraud the insurance company. So if you're in a hit and run and you find yourself in that situation, get a police report. Anything else?
That is what happened to me.
I'm terribly sorry that happened to you, sir.
And I got hit on the freeway in Dallas, and the guy took off. So I called the police. The police came in about 20 minutes. I was surprised they showed up so quickly. But then they drove the boat down and even everything.
It's unfortunately a very difficult process, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
It easily takes about 3 to 4 hours. Very easily.
It's a situation that I hope none of you ever find yourselves in, because it is stressful. It takes a lot of your time on top of you already either having property damage or having bodily injuries. It's not a process that I hope any of you have to go through.
There's one last question on this side.
I have my son, he's 18, and the insurance asks for a lot of money if I add him to my insurance. like about 500, because he's like 18-year-old. And if his brother has an old car, it has a liability insurance. If he drive this car without his name on the insurance, that's a problem, because I don't let him drive. So I want to know, do you think we need to add his name to that car with his brother to the liability insurance, or that's better, or he's fine if he drive that car?
You need to add him to the insurance.
He had to be added to that. To whatever
You need to get him insured, yes.
Get him insurance. Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.